Welcome to the Big Steps Bold Stories podcast, Charisma on Camera with Sandra Dee Robinson. I am happy to share this with you today because you have a mission that you need to get out to the world, a story to share, a business to promote. And Sandra Dee teaches us how to have charisma on camera. And she talks about the 5 elements of charisma. And right now, as I speak, she's doing a 30-day challenge to raise your charisma quotient. So I encourage you to check out her Facebook page, check out her website, and also her Instagram, because she is sharing how to connect with your audience and get your message out to the world. So I hope you enjoy this episode with the lovely Sandra Dee Robinson talking about how to have charisma on camera. How special it is for me today to bring on and introduce Sandra Dee Robinson to you. She is an actress, speaker, coach, and an author. And I just want to welcome you, Sandra. I knew you had to be part of this podcast, and I'm really excited that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here as well.
Awesome. So I always love our chats, and I'm always inspired when I speak with you. So tell me, what is it that you are up to today? What are you working on?
Well, two things. I mean, I'm always focused on helping people be authentically powerful in their messaging and in their personal presence. Of course, I've been doing that since 2010, right? When I got the silly moniker, the charisma coach, and I was like, that's weird, but it is kind of what I do. It's all about communication and self-leadership. And so the two avenues that I work in are working with people. I can do work with people all over the world, kind of virtually, obviously, and then going to them if it's appropriate, and speaking. And then I also have something that I started a couple of years back, which is really extraordinarily different. And I do exclusive retreats. So we take small groups and put them in a retreat setting for either a day to 3 days, and put them with horses. Yes, we partner people with horses. We do not ride. We do this without language, without writing. It's a very different concept, even for people that know horses. It's a very different way to really focus. With that nature-based training, the transformation is quite deep, and it really helps you tap into how your energy is affecting another sentient being. So obviously, if you're feeling safe with a horse, which it's interesting, people take feedback from an animal a lot easier than they take it from a human coach.
Yeah, I find that so interesting because from I don't know a lot about horses myself, but from what I do know, they're very sensitive to people and their energy.
Yes. And people are very sensitive to people. So it makes sense that if you're working with a 1,200-pound animal, and some people are enthralled by them, some people are afraid of them, and everything in between. And that's one of the reasons why they're a perfect gateway into this type of training, right? But there is something to be said about having a 1,200-pound response to
Yes.
whether you are being authentic and truthful or whether you're not. A
Wow.
human will, we overthink it. We meet somebody that we think isn't really sincere. We don't bring it up. We don't show a reaction. We may just say, thank you very much, end the conversation and walk away.
Right.
But when a horse ends the conversation and walks away, it's a pretty big statement, and then we can actually have the opportunity to change our energy. And the amazing thing about horse versus humans is humans will remember that first exchange
Mhm.
and will pile that onto who you are in the moment, where horses are always in the moment, and they're
Right.
very forgiving of how you were a second ago. So if I am pretending to be confident when I'm trying to get the horse to step over an obstacle, and I'm not,
Mhm.
then the horse goes, yeah, something off about you. You've had that about people too, right? We're like, something not quite right.
Great.
And so when you change the way you're being and you go, you know what? I really don't know what I'm doing. Like you can say it out loud, but it's really more of the energy that flows through you, where you kind of open that up and you go, I'm afraid of you, or I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what it is that you like. The second that you get to that really honest place in your energy, that horse forgets who you were a second ago and goes, oh, okay, you're cool. I'll hang with you. I feel safe now.
I find it just so fascinating that uh, you're really doing, like, you're talking about being authentic with your work and authentic with your voice and saying, hey, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I'm gonna try. And
Yeah.
horses, yeah, amazing that they can help you. Is therapy, really. And
It can be. It feels
yeah.
therapeutic. And but I do specify that people introduce me and say she does horse therapy as well
Oh,
as presentation coaching, etc. And I'll go, oh wait, hang on, clear distinction.
okay.
I can work with I am certified to work with a psychologist and do therapy with an individual. I just choose not to. So I choose to work with leaders in small groups. And we call that equine assisted coaching, coaching with horses, equine assisted learning. I don't call it therapy because that takes on a whole different, deeper emotional level. And it is amazing. And I'm happy to refer people that say, hey, I think I'm suffering from PSD. They show up at a workshop with me. I
Yeah.
have to say, I tell you what, I can actually give you to somebody who's going to treat you with more, treat those emotions that are a little bit deeper than
Right.
we are able together. And I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
So this is definitely taking and working with the horses and applying it to whatever you are working on in your life and in your business.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
very much about building strong relationships. And, I had a friend a long time ago that used to always say the quality of your life and business is directly related to the quality of your relationships. And that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I mean, I hopped on here from one of the few networking groups that I'm a part of,
Mhm.
and it was a great meeting because of the relationships that are in that. They're in
Yes.
that group. That's really what will propel you forward. It's what's going to get you speaking gigs. It's what's going to get you clients and affiliates and collaborative partners. It's really those relationships are going to make your life abundant
Yes.
or not.
Yes. 100%. Yes. So tell me about what it was like when you realized that you had to find your own voice. I love this story about you.
I was using characters to escape being me.
Mhm.
So you can imagine we were just talking about being authentic,
Right.
right? And being in alignment with who you are. I
Yeah.
was not. And so I missed a lot of opportunities that could have been fantastic. I had a platform, especially in the beginning, where I jumped onto a TV show that took off. My character was really popular. The storyline, I should say, was really popular. I had a lot of recognition. I could bring attention to things that were important to me, causes and things like that. So when I say platform, everyone has a platform. You may not be on a TV show, but you have something that you are involved in, recognized for, and it can be used for good.
Mhm.
Or you can just lose that opportunity. I lost a lot of those opportunities. I
Yeah.
would be able to be pulled into media interviews and things like that, but I wouldn't know how to stand up for myself or speak for myself or say who I really was. I always thought I had to be someone else. It
Mhm.
was a very disempowering time for me, even though I was making money
Yeah.
and I even had a fan club, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But I didn't have my sense of who I actually was. I didn't have the confidence, certainly didn't have any charisma unless I was playing a character that had charisma. So
Right.
the gap, I always look for the gap. The gap was people perceive me in a certain way, but inside I was not feeling that way at all. And I knew that something was wrong. I thought at the time it was a performance issue. And so I left an audition where the director, it was a commercial where I was going to be talking about products. And the director had brought me in just as a formality. They really just wanted to book me, but they were going to put me on camera. And he made the very common comment of saying, "Sweetie, just be yourself."
Ah, yeah.
And I didn't really know what that was.
Hmm.
And so that to this day is something that I still find with people that can be at any level of transition in their life. They can be 20, they can be 60, but something is happening that they are now finding that they need to continue their journey.
Hmm.
Maybe step into the spotlight a little bit or start a new business or leave the corporate world and start something different, and they have to show up differently. That was where I was. I had to show up differently, and I paid a lot of people. I went to a ton of conferences. I read a ton of books, so many hours spent watching video trainings and going to get different certifications, and all of that I don't regret, but I try to shorten that for a lot of people because it was one moment when I was driving back from that very audition where he said, "Be yourself," and I crumbled. I just disintegrated. And I thought, I'm broken. I have to figure out what's wrong. And that's when I dove for the next 7 years. I had 13 different coaches. And don't forget the therapy that I thought I needed, all the performance coaching that I did. And in the end, it was really the personal work
Mhm.
that carried me through until I could use the presentation skills that I'd been taught. And so that's kind of how I work. I am a presentation coach, but I work with people from the inside out, because once you are comfortable in your own presence and can feel like you are almost unshakable
Yes.
in what you want to accomplish,
Mhm.
then from that I can give you all the skills in the world, and you can master the stage and you can love what you're doing. If I give you skills before you have that other stuff, it's going to be a little bit out of alignment.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think being, true to who you are and amplifying it,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
amplifying it is so key. And that's so hard. It's so difficult for people to really step into and amplify who they are and really show who they are. So I think that's incredible.
Whether
Incredible.
you're introverted or extroverted.
Yeah.
Extroverted sometimes will make magnify, but they may be magnifying only the things that they feel comfortable with.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And an introvert, of course, a lot of times, which I'm an introvert a lot of times will say, I don't know if I want to be seen.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
if I'm ready to be seen. I don't know if I have everything together so that I can be seen. There's all these things that they put in front of their, kind of the wall of their comfort zone, and they have a little push to get through that comfort zone wall, and then all the good stuff's on the other side.
So tell us about how we can use our voice within our business.
Oh, so many ways. So many ways. I mean, I work with people that actually, I work with a lot of people that are terrified to speak in front of groups, whether it's 10 people or 100 people. And I don't know if it's an introvert or extrovert thing. Be interesting to find out what people think. But I've got folks that are more comfortable talking to a crowd of strangers of 200 or 2,000 than talking to a group of 5 or 6 or 10. And I have the opposite. I have people that prefer one-to-one conversations and maybe a small group of up to 10. And if I say, hey, you're doing great in your business, we're going to put you up, for your company conference, they go, I'm going to quit my job. Because they don't want to get in front of an audience that's bigger than 10 people.
Right.
So it's really triggers. It's triggers as to what, and we find out when I work with somebody, I find out what those triggers are. Where do they come from? We disempower the triggers, and that kind of allows them to step forward. But there's speaking on a stage of any size, whether it's whatever is suitable for your business. Where do you want to go? I mean, that's
Mhm.
the way to look at it. How
Yeah.
big do you want to be? How wide of an audience do you want to reach? If you're just doing a local mom and pop and you're happy with that, great. I tend to work with people that maybe even start with the mom and pop and go, I have a lot more to offer than this. I've got a woman right now who's, I'm talking with, and she says, I want to know how I can blast out of my local environment. And,
Mhm.
in the natural, it looks like she's running a business that has to be very local. Her license is only good in a certain state.
Mhm.
And I was like, there's other things you can do. You can
Yeah.
do videos, you can do consultancy, you can do just courses where you advise people on how to find the right team members. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can take your expertise and market it out and make it bigger than it is at the current moment. And whether that's speaking, whether that's getting on podcasts, starting your own podcasts, getting on podcasts is a great way to be able to get the feel of how to get what you do and what you're passionate about, what your big goal is, what the impact is you want to make, to get that into little pieces so that you're able to do that on a regular basis. And you can have fun. You can really have fun doing podcasts like yours.
Yes. I love it. When I do podcasts, I have to, I get so, like so joyful. And I say,
Yeah.
oh, I need to get back to this because I absolutely love it. I feel so invigorated and joyful and happy and just thrilled to do it. And sometimes I'm like, I get so excited that I have to like Okay, calm down a little bit, because I just love it. I love how conversations flow. I love learning about people, and yes, podcasting is wonderful. And
See, you have, when it comes to podcast hosts, you have one of the things that I always say is such a blessing. You have natural curiosity.
oh,
And so if you approach interviewing somebody with a sense, or even meeting somebody at a networking event, networking in general, approach with actual, legitimate, authentic curiosity. And the
yes,
more insatiable curiosity you have, the more interesting you're going to feel the other person is, the more interesting it's going to be to watch. So it makes total sense that you feel that way.
oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. So tell me, because you teach charisma, having charisma on camera. So
Yeah.
what are the 5 elements of charisma?
It's interesting because I said, they go, well, it's a combination of things. And then having somebody sit you down, a coach is always good, right? Sit you down and go, you know that there's elements, just figure out what they are. And I did that and I went, oh my gosh, of course, this makes total sense. And then you go through each one and see which one are you least comfortable in, and we'll work on that one. So first of all, I think it's super important to be 100% present. And I mentioned that I do these retreats with the horses, right? And that is obviously kinesthetic learning. You're right there in it. And horses are only present. You ask a horse what time it is, and they said it's now.
Right.
We tend to bring our past into every conversation,
Mm,
right? If we have had a couple of phone calls during the day that didn't go the way we wanted to, and we got to pick up the phone and make another sales call, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about the 5 that didn't go all that great. We're thinking about the one that we made last week that was a real bomber.
mm,
And the idea, and even when we're talking about interviewing people or being interviewed, to be 100% present means you're there in the conversation right now. It
yes.
doesn't matter what happened before. Forget about your to-do list.
Mm,
Be there right now. When I talk to people and I ask them, think of the most charismatic person that you've ever met. Describe them to me.
mhm.
Most often, they will describe how they felt with that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll say, I felt like I was the only one in the room.
Mhm.
And when someone is able to do that, even for a short period of time, spoke with someone just the other day that I have a lot of people around me that know George W. Bush. It's funny. I don't know why. One of these days I'm going to get to meet him. But she worked with him for a long time. And I saw her, she ran an event. And she was masterfully connecting with people, and everybody felt seen and heard. And she walked up to me to say something. I go, how are you doing this? There's 200 people here. How
Yeah.
can you possibly walk up to every single person? She goes, I watched George do it. She said, and he would take even the briefest moment and be 100% present with them.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to feel seen and heard.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's amazing. So that's the first thing. The second is to be able to be aware of what your body is saying.
Mhm.
So I'll give you a quick example. We talk about leading, right? And we talk about women in particular. Sometimes we'll assume an apologetic body language.
Mhm.
So here's one that it really hit home because I've seen so many people do this, where they walk into a meeting and maybe first thing in the morning, and I know for those that may be listening without visuals, you have to describe what I'm doing. But they'll walk into the meeting and they put the shoulders up to the ears and they go, "Hi, everybody."
Right.
Isn't
Mhm.
that cute?
Mm,
Not if you're leading the meeting.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
The same thing if you keep your shoulders down
And
and shoulders back, and
yeah.
you go, "Hi, everybody." Wow. On camera, from stage, in person, your body says way more than your words do. Before anything comes out of your mouth, you're already broadcasting.
Right.
So with my speakers, I tell them the way you walk up to the stage
Mhm.
is going to set the state of the audience. So where do you want their state to be? Where do you want to start them from? Because
Right.
you're starting with how you walk up those stairs. Or I like to have my people come from, I like to have surprising starts from my people whenever they're speaking. So I usually place them somewhere else other than just walking up the stairs if they can. But even if you are walking up the stairs, there is a second that you stand up, you are broadcasting. What are you broadcasting? When you walk in a room, you're broadcasting.
Mhm.
What are you broadcasting?
Yeah.
right? So
My,
body language is huge.
as you're
Even
talking about it the whole time, I can
you're
feel
straightening
myself
up.
get straighter and straighter all the time.
I think I did the
Like,
same thing. I think I did the same thing. Once we bring the attention to it, it's like, oh
yes,
yeah. But that's why I actually wrote out the elements of charisma, because until you have your attention on it, one of these things can really undermine you, right? They can be the things that you don't really even think about that. Vocal tone, vocal strength is another thing. As an example, there's something that somebody called froggy voice the other day. I was like, oh, I know exactly what that is. It's the people that kind of talk like this because the back of their, you know what I mean? Kind of like goes like this. Yeah. And so the ends of all the words, I exaggerated only a little bit, but the ends of the words disappear. It's disempowering.
right.
And it also makes it hard for the other person to hear. Now, at first, the other person may lean in. It's like if you speak softly, oh, it makes people lean in. Well, they're only going to lean in for a short period of time, and they're going to go, I need to end this conversation. I'm exhausted, right?
Yes, it's work.
Yeah. So do that projection, speak with confidence, I used to train people that would do the news. And so we say, push that breath to the back of the front of your teeth. Make sure that you are really enunciating properly, because when you're slurring your words even a little bit, it also will take away that authoritative level that you want to be at if you're leading people and you want to influence them and lead them into some sort of action. If that action is buying your product or your service, that's a big deal. If that action is doing something, anything that is going to make their life better, don't
Right.
you want to be the most effective speaker that you can be
Mhm.
and capture their attention? And so that's what I mean by vocal tone. And another common thing is when people end their words with a question mark,
Right.
right?
They're not sure, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, well, it comes across that way. And
Mhm.
some people think that, especially women, here we go again, women will think, oh, here's an example. I heard a professor on a podcast
Mhm.
and she answered all of her questions with this. She's like, well, I'm trying to think, it's like, okay, so be careful of your body language. Okay, be careful of your body language. Which one sounds more like I know what I'm talking about? Obviously, the second one. But
Yeah.
this professor probably had somebody tell her, hey, you can be intimidating
Yeah.
because of your credentials. You can be intimidating, to other people. So try
Soften.
to soften. And that's one way that women soften is they put that question mark at the end.
Yeah.
Don't do that unless you're asking a question.
Mhm.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Charisma is about the opportunity to influence others for good, I like to say. So I work with people that have the idea of making a big impact. They have a big why. And coming across as authoritative is usually a really big part of that. And then the fourth thing, listen with all your senses. This happens really well when you follow step number one, being present.
Yeah.
Have you ever sat in a conversation with somebody and they talk and they talk, and then you start to say something and they just keep talking? And eventually you just kind of go, they don't even know I'm here, right? Is
Yeah.
that charismatic? No. But any level of that is going to cut your charisma, a quotient, so to speak.
Yes.
So to be able to actually stop and listen, yes, watch their body language, watch how they are using their tone, listen to the words they're using, really be a good listener.
Mhm.
A good listener isn't just listening to the words that are coming at me so that I can respond.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's so much more to it than that. And it takes practice. I was a terrible listener. I was terrified of people.
Yeah.
I really was. I was terrified of people well into my 20s, which
Mhm.
is why I didn't have that sense of who I was, and it dates, and we can go all the way back and say, yes, there was trauma in childhood and all of that kind of stuff, but that's no excuse for when you're an adult.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We have the tools, and there are people like myself and like you that help people to get over these things. And so that's not it. And the final thing, be unapologetically
Mhm.
passionate
Yeah.
about your purpose.
Yes.
A charismatic person, like any other human on the planet, is going to have 10% of the people that they meet in their life that aren't going to like them, no matter what.
Yeah.
You're not out there to please everybody. You're not out there to entertain everybody, convince everybody, pull everybody into action. You're only there on the planet here to be able to make the influence on the folks that are going to be most in alignment with you. Talk to
Mhm.
those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like an easy thing to do, but it can be really intimidating.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I often think about when I'm, emailing my subscribers or talking to someone new. Just I'm focusing on the one person. I'm not saying, "Hey, all of you, hey, everyone."
Right.
I'm saying,
Right.
"Hey, Stacy," or "Hey, Sarah. It's really great. I hope you're having a wonderful day." And so I think it's being present and mindful of the person that you're with is so important.
And you just touched on something that I think is a great little nugget, if I can throw that out to your audience. So realize I started teaching on camera with TV hosts, and then I moved into experts, particularly women, and then it expanded. And that's how my business Charisma on Camera got started back in 2010.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I immediately would say to them is, you're not, when you're making a video, even if that video goes viral and millions of people are watching your video. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Millions of people are watching. They're
Yeah.
all watching one at a time.
Yes.
So you can take those elements of charisma, which is be 100% present. Well, how do you do that when you're making a video? You speak to one person.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
speak to one very specific individual through that camera lens, as if they're standing on the other side of it. And generally speaking, I would say you don't want to be talking with a picture of your son or your best friend taped up to your camera.
Mhm.
That's not a good idea, because do you speak to your child with the same tone of voice that you speak to your prospective wonderful client?
Of course not. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say picture somebody that you've made an impact on, somebody that has been super grateful for what you've been able to do in their life or their business. Picture them, and hopefully they did actually have a moment where they said, "Thank you so much." In that moment, how did you feel? It come from that place. Picture that person, and that's who you speak to. It doesn't matter if that person was a male or a female and you're speaking to the opposite sex. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that you actually have that very intentional one-to-one energy about your video. And even when you're speaking from the stage, you find those individuals in the couple of seconds that you land your eyes on that person and that person. And it's amazing how I watched Tom Brokaw do this once in a room of 300 people. And he spoke to somebody, and then the people behind them, as we were walking out, I was listening to people go, I felt like he was talking right to me, because he would speak to someone and then everybody in that vicinity would feel like he was talking to them. He captured people's attention for 2 straight hours, and he stood behind a podium the whole time because he was not feeling well at the time. Normally I would say podiums separate you from your audience, but he was so engaging, and he engaged everybody in that exact way, just really acting like every person he was talking to in the audience, he was there specifically and speaking straight to them.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, well, I'm excited to watch this back so I can, I'm definitely going to be more mindful about my posture.
Shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Because
we
I
go.
can't
Straightening up
understand.
again.
And I really appreciate you taking the time and teaching us these things, because
Yeah.
it's stuff that, I mean, if you want to have a business online, it's not like back in 2004 when I started that, we weren't doing video back then.
No,
Now, like,
it's so hard to remember that, right?
right?
That was not a thing. Yeah.
Yes. Video is such a great tool to connect with people. And that's why I'm always like doing my best to learn more about that so that I can apply it and hopefully, inspire other people to use video more often, because there's just no, I just don't think there's any other connection out there that's like that.
Mm-mm. No, that's why I think it's awesome that certain companies are now offering interactive video that goes up on your website. I'm working with one of them as their on-camera coach.
Yeah.
And there are people that are actually creating videos that you can embed into your emails and into your LinkedIn. And there's so many different ways that you can actually connect. One of the gentlemen who was just in the meeting this morning that I was in had shared that his success in LinkedIn messages was because he put videos in there, personal videos. He
Yeah.
said it's time consuming, but he actually makes a separate video. And I don't know, maybe you received some of these. I have too, that say, "Hey, Vera, I just wanted to connect with you this week because I have this coming up and I thought you might be interested in it. And hey, if not, great. If you are interested, just shoot me a message right back. I hope you're having a great day. Just the fact that I would take the time to make a video specifically for you,
Yeah, amazing.
so
It
much more
would make
impactful.
you feel connected, special,
Seen
encouraged,
and heard. Seen
seen
and
and
heard.
heard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
love it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Sandra. I appreciate you so much. And everyone listening, you can check her out at sandradeerobinson.com.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.